Hey everyone. That was pretty lame. Hey everyone. How are you? How are you, Austin? Are you enjoying South by Southwest? I'm about to put that to an end. Who here works on a podcast, has a podcast, is thinking about putting out a podcast, works on podcasts, putting out stuff? Raise your hand. Okay. So I'm going to give a brief presentation and then I'll take questions. Who here amongst you who works on podcasts puts out a video portion of your podcast, full long form? Who here does podcasts? Raise your hand. Who here puts out video? Okay, subset. This is my presentation. 1 billion people a month watch podcasts on TV. That's my presentation. I'll now take questions. That's not a joke. Does anybody have any questions for me? Well, what was the one thing that all those ads that you just saw have in common?
Video.
Nice. Points. They were all on video. Why? Well, because we're in a presentation and obviously he wanted to show you what was happening, but in each case they produced for the video. Did they not? Right? There was costumes, there were backdrops, there were props, etc. And that's because more and more people are, the number one way people consume podcasts. Who here consumes podcasts on YouTube? Raise your hand. It's the number one way people consume podcasts right now. And coincidentally, 1 billion hours a day, per day, of YouTube is watched just on television sets. 1 billion hours per day of YouTube watched just on television sets. 400 million, half a billion hours of podcasts watched on YouTube, on TV monthly by 1 billion people. So if you have a podcast and you do not have a video component to it, then you are leaving at least a third of your total audience on the table. And I would say the lion's share of your revenues long term. And there are a number of different reasons for that. In audio, we all know the limitations of the live host read. We know how the limitations of the inventory, really, you can only stick so many ads in there. But on video, social video is now becoming television at a faster rate than television can ever emulate social video, although it is trying. Anybody here watch the Jake Paul slap fest with the old man? Who raised your hand if you did that? He got paid $40 million because his podcast had the now president of the United States on it in the last election cycle, right? The Brosphere podcasting circle elected the current president of the United States. I don't think there's any real doubt to that, is there? Or maybe there is. We can talk about that. But either way, the pure economics of it are thus. You're getting the impressions you're getting in audio. There's no question about that. But over time, if you want to mature as an industry, I think there's about $30 billion in total in the podcasting industry. That's not a lot, considering there are at least 6 million podcasts, right? And so you have very little money to divvy up amongst all those platforms. So your revenue streams, your business models on a moving forward basis are going to be different from podcasting past. It is going to be a mixture of different revenue sources than have traditionally been the mainstay. Advertising has been one of the bigger areas. Subscription's going to get increasingly important. Video is going to be probably the biggest growth curve for podcasting over the next, I would say, 5 to 10 years. And the biggest reason for that is the CPMs are higher. They act like TV. There is a greater inventory there than there is on the other platforms. And so there's the pure economics of it speak to not abandoning audio, but adding video as a mainstay element, certainly of your advertising business, but increasingly of your membership and subscription business as well. Who here does a podcast? Raise your hand. Who here has a Patreon that goes along with that podcast? Raise your hand. Who here has a Patreon at all? Who here knows what Patreon is? Holy crap. So Patreon pays out about $25 million a month. Patreon pays out $25 million a month. I'm not good at math, but a year, that's a shit ton, right? So if you do not have a bespoke or a direct subscription model through Apple podcasts, you should be investigating subscriptions as a part of your revenue mix. One of the best ways to sell them is with video. And now YouTube has a membership program. If you have over a certain number of subscribers and views, you can create a pay-to-play model on YouTube as well. So to me, if you have a podcast and you aren't thinking about creating a television show out of it, or you don't think about it as television, you're missing a tremendous amount of your audience and a tremendous amount of your revenue opportunity. It's going to drive your advertising more. It is also going to be the doorway to selling many other products like subscriptions, merchandise, live performances, and such. It is sight, sound, and motion on a big screen with great picture and great audio that the consumer can click one button and go to an advertiser that you work with too.